ठाकुर की
जय।
प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय।
जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की
जय।
मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की
जय।
नवदीप मायापुर धाम की
जय।
पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की
जय।
इस्कॉन फिलाडेल्फिया की
जय।
जय श्री श्री राधा शरद बिहारी की
जय।
जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की
जय।
परम करुणा श्री श्री गौर निताय की
जय।
समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय।
all glories to assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्ण।
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण।
Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
हरे
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Six Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari.
हरि हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna. Good morning.
हरे कृष्ण।
It's the order that His Grace Vishnu Prabhu is some urgent work. So he asked me to read today. So I need all of your help. We'll share because it's a very advanced subject matter. Especially, he also mentioned today's subject is very advanced. And let's see what is that. I need all of your help. Let's together try to understand by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Acharyas. So, we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 1, and entitled, Later pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is it text 43 we are doing today?
I thought it was 42, but
42, then we can do 42. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Anyone wants to recite this sloka?
May I, Prabhu?
Yeah, please.
তার ভাতুষপুত্র নাম শ্রী জীব গোসাই, যত ভক্তি গ্রন্থ কইল তার অন্ত নাই।
Sri Rupa Goswami's nephew, Srila Jiva Goswami, has compiled so many books on devotional service that there is no counting them.
শ্রী ভাগবত সন্দর্ভ নাম গ্রন্থ বিস্তার, ভক্তি সিদ্ধান্তের তাতে দেখাইয়েছেন পার।
In Sri Bhagavata Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami has written conclusively about the ultimate end of devotional service. Purport. It's a bigger purport. The Bhagavata Sandarbha is also known as the Sat Sandarbha. In the first part, called Tattva Sandarbha, it is proved that Srimad Bhagavatam is the most authoritative evidence directly pointing to the absolute truth. The second Sandarbha, called Bhagavata Sandarbha, this is Bhagavat Sandarbha, draws a distinction between impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, and describes the spiritual world and the domination of the modes of goodness devoid of contamination by the other two material modes. In other words, there is a vivid description of the transcendental position known as Suddha Sattva. Material goodness is apt to be contaminated by the other two material qualities, ignorance and passion. But when one is situated in the Suddha Sattva position, there is no chance for such contamination. It is a spiritual platform of pure goodness. The potency of the Supreme Lord and the living entity is also described, and there is a description of the inconceivable energies and varieties of energies of the Lord. The potencies are divided into categories: internal, external, and personal, marginal, and so forth. There are also discussions of the eternality of deity worship, the omnipotence of the deity, his all-pervasiveness, his giving shelter to everyone, his subtle and gross potencies, his personal manifestations, his expressions of form, quality, and pastimes, his transcendental position, and his complete form. It is also stated that everything pertaining to the absolute had the same potency, and that the spiritual world, the associates in the spiritual world, and the threefold energies of the Lord in the spiritual world are all transcendental. There are further discussions concerning the difference between the impersonal Brahman and the personality of Godhead, the fullness of the personality of Godhead, the objective of all Vedic knowledge, the personal potencies of the Lord, and personality of Godhead as the original author of Vedic knowledge. The third Sandarbha is called Paramatma Sandarbha, and in this book, there's a description of Paramatma, the Supersoul, and an explanation of how the Supersoul exists in millions and millions of living entities. There are discussions of the differences between the quality two incarnations and discourses concerning the living entities, Maya, the material world, the theory of transformation, the illusory energy, the sameness of this world, and the Supersoul, and the truth about this material world. In this connection, the opinions of Sridhar Goswami are given. It is stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although devoid of material qualities, superintends all material activities. There is also discussion of how the Leela Avatar incarnations respond to the desires of the devotees, and how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is characterized by 6 opulences. So we'll be going up to the 6, okay? So third is done. This is the fourth one. The fourth Sandarbha is called Krishna Sandarbha. And in this book, Krishna is proved to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are discussions of Krishna's pastimes and qualities, his superintendence of the Purusha avatars, and so forth. The opinions of Sridhar Swami are corroborated. In each and every scripture, the supremacy of Krishna is stressed. Baladeva, Sankarsana, and other expansions of Krishna are emanations of Mahasankarsana. All the incarnations and expansions exist simultaneously in the body of Krishna, who is described as two-handed. There are also descriptions of the Goloka planet, Vrindavana, the eternal place of Krishna, the identity of Goloka and Vrindavan, the Yadavas and the cowboys, both eternal associates of Krishna, the quality of the manifest and unmanifest pastimes, Sri Krishna's manifestation in Gokula, the queens of Dwarka as expansions of the internal potency, and superior to them, the super excellent gopis. There is also a list of the gopis' names and a discussion of the topmost position of Srimati Radharani. Yeah, I'm sorry, there's a power out. There's power out. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I joined through phone. The fifth Sandarbha is called Bhakti Sandarbha, and in this book, there's a discussion of how devotional service can be directly executed and how such service can be adjusted either directly or indirectly. There's a discussion of the knowledge of all kinds of scriptures, the establishment of the Vedic institution of Varnashrama, bhakti as superior to fruitive activity, and so forth. It is also stated that without devotional service, even a Brahman is condemned. There are discussions of the process of karma tyaga, the giving of the results of the karma to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the practices of mystic yoga and philosophical speculation, which are deprecated as simply hard labor. Worship of the demigods is discouraged, and worship of a Vaishnava is considered exalted. No respect is given to the non-devotees. There are discussions of how one can be liberated even in this life, Jivana Mukta. Lord Shiva is a devotee, and how a bhakta and his devotional service are eternally existing. It is stated that through bhakti one can attain all success because bhakti is transcendental to the material qualities. There's a discussion of how the self is manifest through bhakti. There's also discussion of the self-bliss as well as how bhakti, even imperfectly executed, enables one to attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unmotivated devotional service is highly praised, and an explanation is given of how each devotee can achieve the platform of unmotivated service by association with other devotees. There's a discussion of the difference between the Mahabhagavata and the ordinary devotee, the symptoms of philosophical speculation, the symptoms of self-worship or ahangrahopasana, the symptoms of devotional service, the symptoms of imaginary perfection, the acceptance of regulatory principles, service to the spiritual master, the Mahabhagavata, liberated devotee, and service to him, service to Vaishnavas in general, the principles of hearing, chanting, remembering, and serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offenses in worship, offensive effects, prayers, engaging oneself as the eternal servant of the Lord, making friendships with the Lord, and surrendering everything for his pleasure. There's also discussion of Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous love of Godhead, and of the specific purpose of becoming a devotee of Lord Krishna, and a comparative study of other perfectional stages. Hope everyone is following so far. We will discuss now the final one, the sixth Sandarbha, the sixth one. The sixth Sandarbha is called Priti Sandarbha, a thesis on love of Godhead. Here it is stated that through love of Godhead, one becomes perfectly liberated and attains the highest goal of life. A distinction is made between the liberated condition of a personalist and that of an impersonalist. And there's a discussion of liberation during one's lifetime as distinguished from liberation from material bondage. Of all kinds of liberation, liberation loving service to the Lord is described as the most exalted. And meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face is shown to be the highest perfection of life. Immediate liberation is contrasted with liberation by a gradual process. Both realization of Brahman and meeting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead are described as liberation within one's lifetime. But meeting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both internally and externally, is shown to be super excellent above the transcendental realization of the Brahman effulgence. There is a comparative study of liberation as Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, Samipya is better than Salokya. Devotional service is considered to be liberation with greater facilities, and there's a discussion of how to obtain it. There are also discussions of the transcendental state one achieves after attaining the devotional platform, which is the exact position of the love of Godhead, the marginal symptom of the transcendental love, and how it is awakened. The distinction between so-called love and transcendental love on the platform of love of Godhead, and different types of humors and mellows enjoined in relishing the lusty affairs of the gopis, which are different from mundane affairs, which in turn are symbolical representations of pure love of Krishna. There are also discussions of bhakti mixed with philosophical speculation, the super excellence of the love of gopis, the difference between opulent devotional service and loving devotional service, the exalted position of the residents of Gokula, the progressively exalted position of the friends of Krishna, the gopis in parallel love with Krishna, in parental love with Krishna, and finally the super excellence of the love of the gopis and that of Srimati Radharani. There's also discussion of how spiritual feelings can be present when one simply imitates them, and of how such mellows are far superior to the ordinary mellows of mundane love, and the descriptions of different ecstasies, the awakening of ecstasy, transcendental qualities, the distinction of dhiradatta, the utmost attractiveness of conjugal love, the ecstatic features, the permanent ecstatic features, the mellows divided into 5 transcendental features of direct loving service and indirect loving service, considered in 7 divisions. Finally, there's a discussion of overlapping of different rasas, and there are discussions of santa, neutrality, servitorship, taking shelter, parental love, conjugal love, direct transcendental enjoyment, and enjoyment in separation, previous attraction, and the glories of Srimati Radharani. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschata Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Gaur Bhaktabunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Good morning. So you all have to share. Vishnu Gadapu was asked for comments. Maybe you can share. The first verse itself heavy, isn't it? In Sri Bhagavata Sandarbha, which is compiled by Jiva Goswami today, this verse is describing Jiva Goswami's writings, and particularly in the previous verses, Jiva Goswami has so many devotional books. Bhagavad Sandarbha is one of them. Bhagavad Sandarbha is one of them. It's called Sat Sandarbha. So, Jiva Goswami has written conclusively about the ultimate end of devotional service. Now, there are 6 Sandarbhas. I want to see if anyone has any comment now. What are the 6 Sandarbhas? At least we can focus on what are the 6 Sandarbhas. Anyone who can mention one of them?
Sandarbha, first one.
Sorry?
First one is Tattva Sandarbha.
Okay, Sat Sandarbha. Yeah.
There's Bhakti Sandarbha.
Okay. Bhakti Sandarbha. Yes, very good.
Krishna Sandarbha.
Yeah. Krishna Sandarbha. And?
But that is Bhakti Sandarbha, next one.
Yeah. Krishna Sandarbha, and Paramatma,
It says Paramatma Sandarbha.
Paramatma Sandarbha. Then
One is Priti Sandarbha.
Iti Sandarbha. Very good. So you know what? Jiva goes, I have the books, but did not dare to read. I started, but I could not read it. But such a beautiful Prabhupada has put this very beautifully for us as summary. Summary means what is expected in this sandarbhas. We can chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra very sincerely, but these are very elaborate, systematic presentations given evidences by Jiva Goswami in each and every aspect. Just as Lord Brahma gave Chatusloki to Narad Muni. Narad Muni gave 4 slokas, then he said, you elaborate on this. So Narad Muni elaborated in 10 different, Bhagavatam explains the 10 different subject matters, right? It has a creation also. So similarly, here in each and every sandarbha, at every aspect of the Lord, Jiva Goswami has provided different subject matters to justify. Here it says some of the things. Bhag is called, the second sandarbha is called Bhagavata Sandarbha. Bhagavata Sandarbha is also called Sat Sandarbha. The first part is called Tattva Sandarbha. So one is Tattva Sandarbha and second one is Bhagavata Sandarbha. And primary subjects, we may accept theoretically, but some of the people may challenge, hey, how is it possible? How can you justify? Jiva Goswami has scientifically elaborated each and every subject matter. Each and every subject matter here in this Bhagavad Sandarbha. Should we go through details on this? What you all say? Any comments? I would like to hear comments from all of you, please.
Details. Details I like.
Sorry?
Let's go through detailedly, Prabhu.
Should we go through the detail?
Yeah.
Okay. Because sandarbhas are very, very large volumes, they have it, but it's a very technicalities, lot of technicalities. At least we know what is in there. Okay. So here we see the second sandarbha, Bhagavad Sandarbha, draws the distinction between impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma and describes the spiritual world and the domination of the modes of goodness devoid of contamination by the other 2 modes. Okay. So it basically also describes about Suddha Sattva position in this material world is 3 modes, made of 3 modes. Even Suddha Sattva Gana, the goodness is all completely pure. So Suddha Sattva, how pure goodness is separate than the Suddha Sattva, pure goodness, is also called Vasudeva Sattva. That is also mentioned. Vasudeva Sattva. That is, there's no chance of contamination these days. It is a spiritual platform of pure goodness. The potency of the Supreme Lord and the living entity is also described, and there's a description of the inconceivable energies and varieties of energies of the Lord. This Sandarbha, which is Bhagavad Sandarbha, describes all these varieties. The Lord is unlimited energies, and primarily we discuss about Antaranga Sakti, Bahiranga Sakti, and Tatastha Sakti, the 3. But 3 energies also so many details divided. How external energy also varieties, internal energy is also varieties. Now we know that Sat Chit Ananda. The potencies are divided into categories: internal, external, personal, marginal, so forth. So those who are interested, they can really get more details on these energies. There are also discussions of the eternality of deity worship, the omnipotency of the deity, his all-pervasiveness, his giving shelter to everyone, his subtle and gross potencies, his personal manifestations, his expressions of form, quality, and pastimes, his transcendental position, and his complete form. Because ultimately, the whole Sandarbha is directing us here about the ultimate end of devotional service. Now, after why Krishna is goal for us, why should we attain? Does God has a form or not? Right? Why having the form is the ultimate realization? Why meeting with the Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, is the ultimate perfection? We read it briefly so we can see. So Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas gradually takes us in this journey, and especially those very inquisitive to know very details about it. And now he says there's also the discussions of the eternality of deity worship and the omnipotency of the deity. Wow. So there we can see that deity is none different than Krishna in potency also. So we move to the next. Any comments on the first one? Please. Don't blame me. This is the tough subject. At least I'm glad that we have some summary of this Sandarbhas. Right? Everyone agree for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. At least we know what is in it, what substance it is in it. And even if we cannot read the whole Sandarbhas, we can go a particular section and read it, try to get more details of it. I have some copies. If anyone wants, I can lend them because I'm not reading that at this time. So let's go through the third Sandarbha. Third Sandarbha is Paramatma Sandarbha. So here there's a description of Paramatma, the Super Soul, and an explanation of how the Super Soul exists in millions and millions of living entities. Isn't it a puzzle? This is, sometimes there's a saying that there are many Paramatmas. Sometimes there's a saying there's only one Paramatma. So how many Paramatmas are there? How many Paramatmas are there? We know that, yeah. We know that from Srimad Bhagavatam, there's one Paramatma. And there's one Paramatma. He manifests in the just like there's one.
Millions.
Yeah. Sorry, can you please repeat? You're speaking, Savaradha Mataji, who is speaking?
Sorry, Prabhu. I forgot.
Yeah, no problem. So there's one Paramatma who is manifesting in all these unlimited living entities. But how? How that will be justified in Jiva Goswami's writing. He did not say the statement, he also gives the explanation, scientific explanation, how. Just like one sun who's appearing in many water bodies doesn't mean that there's many Paramatma, and that Paramatma is also a plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Then there are discussions of difference between the qualitative incarnation and discourses concerning the living entities, Maya, the material world, the theory of transformation, the illusory energy, the sameness of this world, and the super soul, and the truth about this material world. So each subject is given. This and the Guna Avataras, qualitative incarnations, Guna Avataras, about the living entities. There's a saying also that some philosophers, they say that living entity is also God or can become God. So in quality, yeah, definitely living entities in quality, they can be same quality of Krishna, but not in quantity. The relationship, the sameness of this world and the super soul, the truth about this material world, everything is elaborately discussed in the Paramatma Sandarbha. Because Paramatma comes in connection with the in the external material world. In this connection, the opinions of Sridhar Goswami are all given. It is stated that the superior material qualities superintends all material activities. So we know that Lord never comes in contact with the material energy. And in first Adi Lila also we discussed the Adi Lila, I think third chapter also we discussed, second or third chapter, where Lord Brahma says that, even though it appears like he comes in contact, but he does not come in contact. It's taken care by 3 guna avatars. Even Vishnu maintains the universes, material universe, still he does not come in transcendental position. He never comes in contact with the material world. Still, he superintends, that by inconceivable energy. Superintends all material activities without coming its association. There's also a discussion of how the Leela Avatar incarnations respond to the desires of the devotees. This is beautiful item. Leela Avatar's response to the desires of the devotees, and how the Supreme Personality of God is characterized by 6 opulences. Can anyone give an example of Leela Avatar incarnations response to the desires of the devotees? I can remember in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came by the prayer of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya prayed for the Lord. He fulfilled the desire and the calling of the Lord. Any other example? Leela avatars primarily. Krishna comes, as Krishna's father and mother. They prayed, Nanda and Yashoda. They prayed for so many years to get the Lord as their child. To fulfill the devotee's desire, he comes. The basic example. Even he comes for Nanda and Maharaj, but see so many devotees has so many desires, and Krishna comes in this form and fulfills, as descends to fulfill those desires. Well, details can be found. Any comments on this? On third Sandarbha? Yeah.
He comes in 4 arms, is that right?
No.
Or that Leela Avatar, that little Krishna.
Leela Avatar is all the avatars when Krishna comes is Krishna, Ram,
Yeah.
and Sringa. These are the Leela avatars.
That's Avatar, is that right?
Right. Okay. Fourth Sandarbha. The fourth Sandarbha is called Krishna Sandarbha. In this book, Krishna is proved to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, this is a very, very important subject. Even though in Vaishnava society, they may not accept Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They may accept Krishna as God. They may accept Krishna is incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Right. Only in Gaudiya Vaishnava, we find Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ete cham sakalapamsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, which is by Sutta Goswami given. Isn't it confusing? At the beginning, we all are confused. How come? We came in understanding that Krishna is incarnation, is avatara, is not, but here we understand that Krishna is avatari. Krishna is avatari. Avatari means it's source of incarnation. So Jiva Goswami has, in Krishna Sandarbha, he proves that Krishna is proved to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The discussions of Krishna's pastimes and qualities, his superintendence of Purusha avatars, and so forth. The opinions of Sridhar Swami are corroborated. In each and every scripture, the supremacy of Krishna is stressed. Baladeva Sankarsana and other expansions of Krishna are emanations of Mahasankarsana. This is also mind-boggling. How Krishna becomes the first quadruple expansions. And from that, all this expansion from Baladeva, all these expansions comes Mahasankarsana, Baladeva. All the incarnations and expansions exist simultaneously in the body of Krishna. This is also another. We all heard this before, right? But it's a very profound subject that we find in this. We thought only Krishna came. No, along with Krishna, all these personalities came. It's called Vasudeva Krishna, Yashoda Krishna. In so many ways, we can see all these incarnations, they came along with Krishna within the same body, who is described as two-handed. There are also descriptions of the Goloka planet, Vrindavan, the eternal place of Krishna. This is beautiful. We must read this so we can have more details about Goloka Vrindavan. The identity of Goloka and Vrindavan, the Yadavas and the cowherd boys, both are eternal associates of Krishna. The equality of the manifest and unmanifest pastimes, Sri Krishna's manifestation in Gokula, the queens of Dwarka as expressions of the internal potency. Many of the statements, this thing we find in different books, but unfortunately we think, where did they get the reference from? So we can find that in all these references, Jiva Goswami has put in Sandarbhas. So we can find, there's also a list of the gopis' names and discussions of the topmost position of Srimati Radharani. Any comment on this? I'm asking comment because it can help me.
That's exactly what I was also thinking as you were reading this. We hear all these details, but now we know where. And then you also realize how much Srila Prabhupada must have studied to have been able to simplify it and put it in place in books that we can understand.
Yes. Because Acharya is not in just an ordinary position. And yes, certainly he's blessed by the Lord and put it in such a way that we can just accepting, his instructions, will be able to go back to Godhead.
Yes.
Without any. But at least, by reading this, our faith and conviction with Krishna consciousness will increase. Even though Prabhupada gave his books, still we don't have taste for reading and hearing those subject matters. Very less percentage of devotees, they actually read and spend time in class. I remember in the documentary on Srila Prabhupada, which is made, one of the scholar was making this statement. I was thinking, these devotees, they're simply singing and dancing, there's no substance behind it. But when he met Prabhupada, he understood that there's a deep, deep science and philosophy behind it. I forgot the name of that process. Very deep and profound science. Everybody can take based on their capacity. Everyone can The Krishna is eternal. Krishna is unlimited. His writings about him is also unlimited. Unlimited. So we can take. Thank you.
Also, Prabhu, I want to add all these books that are given that prove, that bhakti is not sentimental, like many
Right.
people that they consider like bhakti is sentimental. It's full of philosophy, full of knowledge.
Yes, that's right. Bhakti is sentiment until you don't hear or taste it. It's like because we have no experience of it. They think that it's all bhakti is lower stage of practice because very easy, but bhakti is not very easy. It has been made easy by our acharyas, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Given just everything has been given in one capsule in Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So bhakti is easy, then why don't we chant? Why can't people chant Hare Krishna? Very difficult. Thank you. So should we briefly go with the other two? Vishnugata Prabhu also gave me some excerpts from about Parakya Bhava. I'll give that as well. Is that okay? So should we go through quickly the fifth Sandarbha? I want to hear all of your opinion on this.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
Should we go?
Prabhu.
Okay, let's go it. The fifth Sandarbha is called Bhakti Sandarbha. In this book, there's discussion on how devotional service can be directly executed and how such a service can be adjusted, either directly or indirectly. Interesting, this can be adjusted also. There's a discussion of the knowledge of all kinds of scriptures, the establishment of the Vedic institution of Varnashrama, bhakti as superior to fruitive activity, and so forth. So because on this particularly stresses on the bhakti, devotional service, bhakti sandarbha. All these things anyone wants to know, they can find in this. It is also stated that without devotional service, even a Brahmana is condemned. Brahmana, generally Brahmana is called Brahma Janati iti Brahmana, the one who is Brahman realized, studies up to Brahman. And Bhakta also can be Brahmana because Bhakta is a Vaishnava Brahmana. The one who has realized the personal aspect of the Lord is called Vaishnava Brahmana. The one who has realized Brahman realized, that's being mentioned here. There are discussions of the process of karma tyaga. Karma tyaga means giving up the results of karma to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is called also karma yoga, isn't it? Karma tyaga. And the practices of mystic yoga, philosophical speculations, which are deprecated as the simply hard labor. Worship of the demigods is discouraged. And worship of a Vaishnava is considered exalted. So now we see completely contrast. One is demigods worship is discouraged, but the worship of Vaishnavas is considered exalted among all worships. No respect is given to the non-devotees. But in our society, we want to be very careful. What is that meaning? It means not that we can hate them, but at least we can be compassionate to them, showing compassion to the non-devotees. The discussions of how one can be liberated even in this life, Jivana Mukta. This is very important subject. Jivana Mukta, right? Living in this body is already liberated. One can be completely liberated. It's called Jivana Mukta. But generally, there's a perception that I will get liberated only after I leave the body. Any comment on this? Dhanacharya Prabhu is there. Dhanacharya Prabhu, you want to say something?
No, Prabhu, not on this.
Yeah. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, as Lord Krishna gives the symptoms to Arjuna, you know, what are the symptoms of a liberated person? And one is liberated already in this, and especially devotees are already liberated. In the time while they are in this material world, they continue to discharge their devotion, and after they leave this body, and they continue the same service directly in face to face with Krishna. Then here also we will find Lord Shiva as a devotee. How a bhakta and his devotional service are eternally existing. So this also you will find subject matter. It is stated that through bhakti one can attain all success because bhakti is transcendental to the material qualities. But it needs a lot of faith, isn't it true? Through bhakti one can attain all success because bhakti is transcendental to the material qualities. There's an incident in Chaitanya Caritamrita. You know, Lord Chaitanya inaugurated this Sankirtana program in Srivas Thakur's place. And one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking, you know, Srivas is serving all the devotees every day, but as far as I know, that he doesn't have a source of kind of income. You know, he's completely engaged, 100% giving his time to devotional service. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking Srivas, how will you maintain? If you don't work, how will you maintain? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu want to test Srivas Thakur's and also hear from him. Well, Srivas Thakur, you know, we cannot imitate all, but his conviction in devotional service and the Lord is the maintainer is so much. He says that, no, if I just laugh and it comes, it will come. He knows that Krishna is going to maintain, and my job is to surrender and render service to him. And this pastime is a very profound teachings, especially this time and age. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the associates, they taught with their example. And many times, if we lose a job and we become immediately panicked, oh, how will I live? How will I maintain my body? How will I maintain my family? Right? It's because of our conditioning nature. You know, because of our conditioning nature, yes, we have to work. But the one who is fully convinced in devotional service, faith in the Lord, and he can attain all success because of that bhakti is transcendental to the material qualities. Everything is needed, is already available in bhakti, in devotional service. That faith also one can develop as we advance. You know, when many devotees come to our Sangha, right, senior devotees, and if you look at their life, they have not, you know, they gave their time to Prabhupada's movement in the youth prime age, and they did not accumulate any money, but still they're having wonderful, wonderful life. You know, by serving, they're always getting prasadam, they're getting shelter, they're fulfilling their needs, are getting fulfilled. Who is taking care of them? Is Krishna. I'm just covering only the material aspect of it. You know, it's both material and spiritual aspect, both are devotional service can do. There's a discussion of how the self is manifest through bhakti. So self is manifest through bhakti is, what I understand from is, your swarupa. At this time we have forgotten who am I. I don't know. I've been thinking I'm this body, and suffering, and you know, in anxiety, always thinking I'm this body. But through devotional service, I will come to know my swarupa. Who am I? You know, what service I have. Before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, during initiation process, the spiritual master used to reveal the Swarupa of his disciples, their disciples. But I think starting from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Swarupa is not being given. The Swarupa is our form, our service in the spiritual world. That is called Swarupa. Any comments? Yeah. So there's also discussion of the self's bliss as well as, yeah, go ahead, Dhananjay.
Yeah, and this is very interesting about revealing the Sarupa. I know in some sects they do this activity, maybe not at initiation, but maybe somewhere after, somewhere along the line, and that becomes very attractive to a disciple, maybe thinking themselves more advanced than they really are. I just wanted to caution that we should never get allured by these types of things. What is to be revealed to us will be revealed to us in time under the proper guidance. We shouldn't think if somebody says, "Oh, I was revealed my Siddha Sarup, what I am eternally in the spiritual world." We shouldn't ever be pulled into things like that, even though it may seem like the person is advanced. This is only misleading. We should always reflect upon our current conditioned nature, and that Guru will reveal in time.
Thank you. I think, yeah, that's one of the point. It's not, I think it's stopped revealing, because we may think, oh, I'm so and so. Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments? But I'm sure we all would be inquisitive to know, right? We have our propensities, and the spiritual, when we serve under sincerely, genuinely, under the direction of the spiritual master, all these things will be revealed. There's a saint who's Baba, I forgot his name, Bamsidas Babaji Maharaj. Bamsidas Babaji Maharaj, when he used to see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he always used to call Manjari, because they know this, but they can see this by their transcendental vision. They can see, they can realize all this. So is it okay? Should we proceed? Maybe in the sixth sandarbha we can do a little bit. We have very little time, and I hope I will not be blamed, because it's a very tough subject to this. Is it benefiting to all? I liked it. At least I got some glimpse of this sandarbhas. Should we continue briefly for a few minutes, this sixth sandarbha?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. The sixth sandarbha is called Priti Sandarbha. Here the main subject, which is primarily we find in the aspect of love which is available in Gaudiya Vaishnava. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought the highest love of God, Priti Sandarbha. A thesis on love of God. Different kind of love, as in servitudeship and friendship, and parental and conjugal love. In conjugal love also we'll find Swakya and Parakya. Swakya and Parakya. And it's very difficult to, to digest the Parakya Bhava. Understand that, say, Vishnu Prabhu also shared with me something. Maybe I can share that. 1 second, yeah. We'll read from that and then we'll stop it there. Yeah. Yeah. There's particularly on Parakya Rasa, he asked me to share it, so I'm sharing it with all of you. From Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 13.24. The Parakya Rasa of the spiritual world should not be discussed except by one who is very advanced in pure devotional service. The Parakya Rasa in the spiritual world and that in the material world are not comparable. The former is gold. So this material world here, it means that people in the mundane platform, they try to engage in another relationship with another's wife. So that's mentioned. And Parakya Rasa in the spiritual world is the topmost platform. It's like a gold, and the former is called gold and the latter is like iron, because the difference between the two is so great, they cannot actually be compared. However, just as a knowledgeable person can easily distinguish gold from iron, one who has the proper realization can easily distinguish the transcendental activities of the spiritual world from material activities. It's just to get an understanding. Oh, they are not in the same platform, in the same position. One is condemned position, the other one is most glorified position. Most glorified position. That's a great sages in this earth also, they glorify. Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. We see Radha Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Even the great sages like Sanaka Sanatana, Rupa, Sanaka, all this, even though the brahmacharis and the sannyasis, still they glorify these activities. Why? Because they're super excellent and highly elevated platform. But mundane people comparing that love, that aspect of love to their conditioning, what experiences they have in this material world, they criticize. That's why here in this purport we might see Jiva Goswami did not stress much on Parakya Rasa. Why? According to another accusation, Srila Jiva Goswami did not approve the principles of Parakya Rasa of Brajadham. Therefore supported the Swakya Rasa, because there was apparently there's some accusations showing that Radha and Krishna are eternally married. That specifies people, okay, they can understand they're married and that's their relationship. Actually, when Jiva Goswami was alive, some of his followers disliked the Parakya Rasa of the gopis. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami, for their spiritual benefit, supported Swakya Rasa, for he could understand that Sahajiyas would otherwise exploit the Parakya Rasa as they are actually doing at the present time. So now we have some justification. The relation between Radha and Krishna, they cannot say that they are not married, but there's a past time. We know that all the gopis, and including Radharani, they are married to Krishna when they were small. And they manifest this. So that marriage aspect is given to justify. It's a legal relationship. It's a relationship with Swakya Rasa. So people will stop condemning on this. Unfortunately, in Vrindavan and Navadip, it has become fashionable among Sahajiyas in their debauchery to find an unmarried sexual partner to live with, to execute so-called devotional service in Parakya Rasa. Foreseeing this, Srila Jiva Goswami supported Swakya Rasa, and later all the Vaishnava acharyas also approved of it. Srila Jiva Goswami was never opposed to the transcendental Parakya Rasa, nor has any other Vaishnava disapproved of it. Jiva Goswami directly followed his predecessor gurus and Vaishnavas, Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, accepted him as one of his instructed gurus. So this is on, because the final aspect, goal is, out of 6 sandarbha, is to attain the love of Godhead, is thesis of love, and to see the Lord face to face, not getting the liberation. So all these different subject has been described, and ultimately the Parakya Rasa has been given, and Swakya Rasa is also has been stressed by Jiva Goswami, just to satisfy, to make people easily understand and accept. Otherwise, Parakya Rasa is as Prabhupada writes, is for pure devotees, advanced in pure devotional service. So it's 8:55. Any comments? I'm sorry, Vishnupada Prabhu asked me, I had no solutions choice. Any quick comments? Was it at all useful?
Do we? That's very interesting. This when we're worshiping Radha and Krishna, it's not in. I never had the understanding it was in the Swakiya Ras. Is it, or is it?
Well, when our worship of Radha Krishna, if you're talking about the deity at the temple, even though we are worshiping Radha Krishna, if I remember, our worship is a worship of Lakshmi and Narayan. Because by worship of Radha Krishna in a mode, we are not ready, advanced enough to serve in that mode. That's why deity worship Radha Krishna is served as Lakshmi Narayan in awe and reverence. If you do not develop awe and reverence, then we might commit offenses. That's why even though our temple says Radha and Krishna, but our mode of worship is as Lakshmi Narayan. We worship with full respect, awe and reverence. That I have read in the past.
Yeah, that is true. But when we speak of Radha and Krishna, our conception of Radha and Krishna, when we talk about it, when we read in Krishna book, or we chant Jaya Radha Madhava, or we chant bhajans of Radha and Krishna, I never considered them to be married in a relationship like that. I always understood what this Parakya Rasa. But I mean, is that how's I'm trying to think of how it's being taught.
It's Parakya. See, marriage is a ceremony, is available in this material world to bring discipline in human society. Marriage is not needed in spiritual world, right? And everything we worship in our altar is the manifestation of the spiritual world, and how they're related, how their expressions, those all are. So definitely it is Parakya Bhava. Because in the material world, marriage is required. Even Lord Ramchandra comes yesterday, we celebrate. He comes in the human form. They act so that they can set examples. They uplift the living entity in the spiritual realization. So marriage is not in the spiritual world, marriage in the material world. But our altars, when worship is in the spiritual world, we see both. We can see those are beginners, they can see as Krishna, as Radha Krishna as married, Lakshmi Narayan. And those in the further advanced, they can digest, they can accept, this Parakya Bhava. In Mayapur, our headquarters, we can see Radha Krishna Ashtasakhi. So that's also manifestation in Parakya Bhava. So that's what I can say. It's based on one's realization. One can understand that. That's what devotees realization, one can say. One can understand and grow from there. One, at the beginning, initial stage, it's hard for the devotees to understand the Parakya Rasa and the beautiful, even conjugal love also. Even the Lord is a person, accepting that is also very difficult. So, thank you, Prabhu. That's what I can say.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I joined late, so
I don't know. Could you, is it possible for you to give summary of each sandarbha in 1 line or 2 lines?
See, this is the final test. Suman Mataji, possible. Yes. 6 sandarbhas, which is compiled by Jiva Goswami. I cannot give the summary in 1 line. I can give you again quickly by seeing itself. To bring a deep conviction in the devotees in this world. There's so many people who are very knowledgeable. They may be very inquisitive to know. They may challenge why Srimad Bhagavatam is why Krishna is the supreme personality regarded, why devotional service is ultimate goal of life. Because of that, Jiva Goswami has provided as a conclusion, ultimate end of devotional service. He came to this. The whole 6 sandarbhas is systematically taking the society to head to progress towards devotional service. So there are 2 sandarbhas. The first is, we can see, is Tattva Sandarbha. Tattva Sandarbha, where Tattva is of the absolute truth is described. And the second is called Bhagavata Sandarbha. Not Bhagavata. I don't know, here it says Bhagavata Sandarbha, it says. Yeah. So maybe it's the Bhagavata Sandarbha only. So Tattva Sandarbha and Bhagavata Sandarbha. In Bhagavata Sandarbha, it describes impersonal aspect and the personal aspect of the Lord. And the deity worship and all these details are subjects are given. Okay, you asked me to give in line, I'll go with 1 line only. The third one is Paramatma Sandarbha. Paramatma Sandarbha is basically about the Paramatma aspect of this world. How is one Paramatma is manifesting in millions of living entities. How he has come, how his plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all this is described, focusing only Paramatma.
Okay.
And the fourth one is called Krishna Sandarbha. Now you understand Paramatma, then you have to understand who Krishna is, how Krishna is the source of Paramatma, and how is source of all the incarnations, how ultimate goal is to surrender and serve him, how all these different incarnations also serve him. That is fourth, Krishna Sandarbha, fourth. The fifth one is Bhakti Sandarbha. Now you know who you are. Now you know the material world. Now you know the spirit, the Paramatma. Now you know the Krishna. What is our goal? What is our goal? So devotional service is stressed here. Bhakti Sandarbha. The highest perfection is devotional service. Karma, jnana, everything, above everything. And devotee and devotional service is very eternal. That's the most stresses we get. Ultimate is the ultimate highest perfection. Now, once you do your devotee, what is your mode of your devotional service? How they're different. Oh, you are devotee, I am devotee, everybody is a devotee. How we different based on one's, the love. And highest form of love is Swakya Rasa and Parakya Rasa. Swakya Rasa and Parakya Rasa. And primarily stress is given in Swakya Rasa so that, devotees can very easily understand and accept it. So this is what, in brief, 6 sandarbhas.
So love for God and love for other people, that is the meaning of Swakya Rasa.
Love for other people is a byproduct.
Okay.
They're just saying that, Manava Seva, Madhava Seva. People say when you worship other people, you worship God. But our teaching is when you worship Krishna, then you will understand other people's relationship with Krishna and you. Then your natural love will come.
Okay.
So it's not for love for others. It's love for Krishna is the ultimate perfection for us.
Okay.
And Jivadaya and loving others in relationship to Krishna is a subservient to our love for Krishna.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very nicely explained. Very nicely. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll stop it here. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada, sorry, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarivascha
Patari Bhasya Kripa Sindhubhya